And we will move on to item 3, which is approval of minutes from the May 9th, 2023 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Brasted.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Any additions, subtractions, changes? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. No chair's remarks today. Item 5 is consider draft proposed 2024 Anoka County Regional Rail Authority budget and the attached information. Dee.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Dee Goodman, Executive Director for Regional Rail, Anoka County. So what I'm bringing before you today is, I'm a little bit early, we're 1 month early, but I felt that we have quite a bit to discuss. If you look at our budget, which is Exhibit A, I want to kind of point out a couple things in this. And why things are different is because as of October 1st, of this year, we will no longer be responsible for the operating costs for the North Star train. With that has been leading a lot of our discussions, and that affects our budget by quite a bit. Every year we budget anywhere between $2 million up to $6 million to pay that. With that change in 2024, this affects our budget overall, almost cutting it in half. So if you go through Exhibit A and we go down to, I want to skip to Section 1, North Star Corridor Cost. As you can see, I showed what we did in 2023 and then what we draft for 2024. The first item we see on there is our NCDA capital budget contribution. That is our debt service, our bond payment. With the help of Finance Director Corey Camp, we actually will be done paying that bond payment in 2027. And so that will no longer be on our list. Item C, commuter rail operations, that went from 4.6 down to 0 for 2024. So right now, our North Star quarter costs are 1.8. In the next section, management costs, you're gonna see that we have $278,000. What those costs are for professional services help in case we need a contract to have legal services or anything like that. Also, there's interdepartment. Sometimes we ask GIS to do some work for us, communications, and so we pay them for their time. And the other two biggies would be inter-county transfers. That's for our attorney's assistants. It pays for a portion of my salary as well as our clerk, Brenda, to this board. So that cost is $278,000. As we look at 2024, I have 3 items I really want to kind of point out. As of right now, if we look at the balance that is sitting in the regional rail account, we have enough money that we would not have to levy in 2024 or going forward, and we could pay the balance of the bonds through the final payment in 2027. If we did that, that would leave us a balance of $4.1 million that would be sitting in that account that could be used for any projects that we come up with between that. One item I do want to pick up is that in 2022, we decided to pay Met Council $1.9 million. They feel that we owe them an additional $1.1. In 2023, we again paid the $1.9 million. As of right now, they feel we owe additional $1.6. If I add those two together, Met Council or Met Transit feels that we owe them an additional $2.8 million. So as I look at 2024 and what you would like to do with the budget, I'm kind of asking for some guidance. Do we want to continue to levy? Do we want to reduce the levy to 0 and use the fund balance? What would you like to do?
Discussion.
Sure.
Mr. Schulte.
I would like to use the fund balance and reduce the levy to 0. I think it's the right thing to do for the taxpayers. It's transparent. We've already collected the money. We have enough money to cover our costs, our debts. I think the right thing to do is to reduce the levy to 0 and use our reserves to pay down the debt that we do have.
I want, Dee, just a clarification. You said the amount of money we have in there now is how much?
We're at about 26 million, but that is because we have a large bond payment that we need to make. Let me just look at my chart here.
Okay, but if we set this money aside
If we
to
set aside,
defease the loans,
we will have 4.1
we'll have 4 left over when the dust settles.
when the dust settles, and if we do not pay an additional money to Met Transit.
Yes, okay. Just wanted a clarification. Yes.
And Mr. Chair, even if the Metropolitan Council does somehow, through one lever or another, demand or extract that extra money, we still have money left in reserves, 2 million plus.
Yes.
I got Commissioner Reinert, then Commissioner Meisner.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Commissioner Schulte said about the use of funds and not to levy. And then also, I guess I would say that I feel that we don't owe the 2.7.
Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, okay, I actually just, I have a couple of questions about the budget. So on Exhibit A, and this would be under the North Star Corridor costs for the NCDA capital budget contribution. So you mentioned that is for the bond, and why aren't they the same amount? In 2024, it's just slightly less?
It's like an
It's like-
amortized loan. It reduces interest
okay.
and principal. So
Okay.
every year it changes slightly.
Okay, and then I guess my question too, in regards to, obviously, there's a disagreement about Met Council, the 2.7. So, okay, so they voice that they feel that we owe them. What does that mean? Is this just going to be another deal where they say this and we say that? Does this mean we're going to court? Like, what does this mean?
So it is a discussion between them and us. We probably would need to sit down and talk about it. At the end of the day, they could take us to court. I think that's up to the commissioners if that is where you want to go with it.
Okay, well, my opinion as it stands right now about the 2.7, I mean, I could be open to having that reduced, but this seems like a compromise of what they're asking from originally with that whole chapter, the 2 years in terms of the money.
No, it was
Commissioner,
it's
I
a
won't-
true up.
Yeah, I would not say it's a compromise. What he
Okay,
talks
yeah,
about is a
let's
true-up.
talk about that, because I do want to understand then.
Yep. So every year, so right now for 2022, operating costs for last year, I am still waiting for Met Transit to come up with a true-up number, which means what they do is they go back, they audit all their books, and they determine what they actually paid out and what they didn't pay out, because they budget at I would say, a very hefty amount for potential issues, rise in gas costs, rise in insurance, parts and labor, and potentially they budgeted for additional riders or additional trips going downtown that we never did. So what they end up doing is usually they come to us August, September, October time after they've gone through their audit, and they say, we thought it was going to be 4 million, it actually only ended up to be 3 million. We're doing a true up, and instead of 2.8 million you owe, we think you only owe 2.5 now.
Right.
I won't get the news for 2022 until this fall, and we won't get 2023 until the following year.
Okay.
So there's kind of a tail to it that takes quite a while.
Like a lag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jepson.
So you commented that with the fund balance remaining, there could be projects that we could use those dollars for. Do you have any ideas of projects right now? Is there some, or just wait and see?
Yeah, so we have used the funds in here to do some safety, some up and overs that we've done over the rail track, like what we did in Coon Rapids where we went up and over, Armstrong where we go up and over the tracks so traffic doesn't have to wait. We have potentially more intersections that could use that, but also the funding that we would get, we could use from here. But as you know, also the tax comes in now for transit and can be used for roads and bridges. So our funding source has widened, where before we were very channeled and using just regional rail tax.
It'd be rail related. That's why if we could use it to go over the railroad tracks, that was rail related. Is that limitation still on there for the 4 million?
I don't know. I will have to check.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if that was changed or not. Commissioner Meisner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then in that regard, does this body need to do anything because we are now able to expand that definition of how to spend the funds? Or does it, what I'm asking is it always stays in Railroad Authority even though we could use it for roads and bridges? Or do we have to release it to, you know what I mean, like the county board?
Yeah, Commissioner, I hear what you're saying. So
Yeah.
not really release it, but that tax is no longer coming directly into rail. It now comes in as county dollars. And then Corey, along with
Okay,
other departments
got it.
like highway, that's how we figure out the use. So
Okay.
it kind of opened us up to all sharing the money.
Okay.
Commissioner Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But if these dollars came as levy dollars for rail, they should be used for that, because to.
That is that limitation I need to check on.
Yes,
Yes.
so then
So
I would agree with Commissioner Schulte about getting the levy to zero and using these funds to pay for this specific.
right, so it's a color of money, right? Were these dollars the quarter-cent sales tax dollars, or were these dollars levy dollars? Were we levying for operation, or was it the flexible quarter-cent sales tax dollars that comprise the 4 million left over? That's the ultimate global question, right? And I think, as with everything, we could have our attorneys look into it, and it's based on opinion. I don't believe it is, I believe it is, So as long as we get a justified opinion on what those dollars are, then we can, we either know we're limited or we're not limited. But yes, we did not levy $27 million, so we know that a lot of it is the quarter-cent sales tax. Whether or not when the dust settles, the 4 million left over is specifically levy dollars or not, is, I think.
So what Corey is saying, although we haven't got David in and we can work on that with the attorney's office, is that the 4 million would be levy dollars, so they would be limited to rail projects. Our limit with rail projects, so what we really have left are safety and up and over.
So the 4 million, we know for sure are levy dollars. Well, then let's use those first 4 million in paying off the debt. And the rest of the 27 million, the 23 million would be the quarter-cent sales tax.
Nice try.
Explain to me how that doesn't work. D, explain to me how that doesn't work.
Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, I called it.
Where are those rocks you were talking about?
Mr. Chair, Trustees, Corey Camp, Chief Financial Officer of Anoka County. The way this is set up right now, the bonds, when we did the bond issue, we had a crossover refunding. The refunding crosses over next year. That's why you have the $13 million payout. They're sitting in escrow, and all that money will go away. Okay? Any money from the transportation sales tax, a quarter-cent that we have used, is a transfer in that I have done from the fund, from the local fund that we collected, to directly pay a bill that has been submitted and paid related to the North Star. No other funding related to that is in there. So there's no excess funding from the region, from the transportation sales tax in the fund. Everything else is either levy dollars that came through Sherburne County or through us. And so it is levy dollars at the end of the day. So.
Okay, so essentially what we have here is a scenario where when the dust settles, and there's $4 million left over, we can only use that $4 million on regional rail expenses,
Correct. So
of which we don't have any regional rail expenses, so it could indefinitely sit there until we decide that the train track intersection on 242 needs a grade separation. Okay. Or the train track on 22 in Oak Grove needs a grade separation, in which we could use those dollars in that specific area related to regional rail only.
Right. I will say, when you say there's no expenses left, there is the expense of $300,000 a year that if we don't take from regional rail dollars, we will need to take from county dollars, and that expense will be transferred into administration. So administration's budget is going to need to rise by $300,000 in order to encompass the salaries.
And I think that would be the only transparent way of doing it, because if you're not operational in a regional rail capacity, you probably shouldn't have staff getting funded through a regional rail capacity. I understand we have to account for it in budgeting in a different fashion. I understand that part, but I think it's a little disingenuous to say we're paying somebody in regional rail, but we have no functions in that regional rail at this time. Rhonda, did you want to?
Mr. Chairman, I think one clarification, I believe that the dollars can also be used for transit related. So we can continue to cover the transit-related costs that we have in our transportation department from this extra pot. We already transfer some of those dollars to pay, I think, don't we? No, we were, I think, 500,000 a year before, but that's a way to also utilize
Well, we
those
use quarter
funds.
cent sales tax on some of the,
Correct.
uh,
Mr. Chair, we use the quarter cent sales tax to fund the bus, the little bus we have right now. If we wanted to change it to regional rail levy, if that's allowed, we'd have to just verify that. We could do that and leave the quarter cent sales tax, because that has more flexibility for, transportation and what they can apply it to. So those are some options.
I got Commissioner Meisner and Jepson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will comment or also agree with Commissioner Schulte and Jepson in terms of keeping the levy at zero for this discussion. But then I guess too, if we have the $4 million, I mean, it seems like the safety trend is that pretty much for grade separation as often as possible. So I mean, I think that it is a matter of time and not just, like we're deciding to use it. I mean, I think that this will eventually come up more quicker than we think. And then I don't know how much that those are for the grade separations, but they're expensive, right? I mean, so that $4 million is not really that much money in terms of just for that particular area alone for grade separation. So I'm fine with that. I mean, I know what you're saying to pay down the bond, but I don't think that's a problem to have whatever excess in for future safety projects.
Correct, so we could pay down, we'll have the bond paid down in zero.
Right.
We'll have 4 million left. That money we could use for some up and overs,
So-
or potentially others. I do know our 5-year transportation plan, like Rhonda has said, has that transit piece in there, so that is an expense we could pick up too.
So the 5-year transportation plan does not currently have any other grade separations for rail in it at this point. So we'd have to
Update that.
look to that, and of course, your cost for a grade separation is, 30 million plus. So it's, this 4 million isn't really gonna make a dent in that, but, question? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Then just a follow-up question too, with that 300,000 for staff for Railroad Authority. I mean, I just want to make sure there's still going to be staff working on things.
Yeah,
So,
so-
okay, because I mean, the way that you had presented it was like, no, there's going to be absolutely nothing for Railroad Authority staff, but I don't think that was true. And especially too, you said you always have a bucket for when projects arise that you need to address. I mean,
So I am not going away, I hope. So, and Brenda neither. We will be here. But how we've always allocated is
Yeah.
where you spend your time. Every year we update
Right.
where we spend our time for allocations. My office expenses, my mileage expenses, a portion goes to that. As it lowers, sometimes we do shift, and maybe that's what we do. If we are not going to have regional rail meetings every month, or I'm not attending so many meetings. I still do attend a county-wide meeting and some other things that we meet
Right.
with other counties to discuss Met Transit and what's going on there. So we will have some work, but we probably should be moving the money slowly over to administration. So if something does happen,
Okay.
I will still hopefully be here.
right. Thank you.
Commissioner Jepson.
Thank you. So going back to the Met Council portion, the 2.7 million that they say we still owe them, from my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that it's been the county board's precedence to only pay what is owed, which makes sense. Contractually, it's always above and beyond that, 4 to 6 million, and then the true-up occurs. So this 2.7, is the board's position then also going to be to wait until that true-up is official in 2024 before these dollars are paid, or?
So
So
our
I just
position,
want to clarify, it's 2.8, not
So-
2.7, it's 2.8.
yeah, our position in the past has been that this is full and final payment. That was the decision of this board, full and final
The
payment.
last one.
Yep.
Okay.
So our argument is that we pay for service and that service was cut by 71.4%, and therefore your dollars are cut. They didn't agree with that, obviously, right? So they're continuing to make, say that they have a claim, but if this goes to court, they need to clearly understand that we don't have a contract. So I'm not sure what they're basing that on, but there is no signed contract whatsoever. There is a global contract that says that, that these are how the percentages get divided, but there is no subcontract that says that we're paying for this on an annual basis for this amount or anything like that. So, I mean, if they want to go to court, we can certainly go to court, and I lost count of how many attorneys we have, but we have them standing by. So, the reality is that, they should probably consider their, you know, the fact that this goes away. They are getting funding at the state, they're covering costs, we walk away, everybody's good. Whether or not they do that is something else. Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question on, we were talking about the building new things. I think when you said the over bridges or whatever it would be. Basically, we have that everywhere right now. There's no, I mean, you go under in Fridley, you go over in Coon Rapids, you go over in Anoka, and you go over in Ramsey might just be the same side. There's nothing on the other side of Ramsey. So there's no need, is what I
Well, we
understand.
still have Sunfish. We still have,
Oh, you're talking about totally new.
right.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, because at the Transportation Committee, when we did the budget, we talked about the bridge in Columbia, or I guess it's Columbia Heights, that is
Oh,
under.
yes.
Would that be covered by something like that? I mean, it's not transit related unless the bridge falls on the train and the North Star's going under it, then that would be transit related. But that seems to be something I would think if we're just talking about, because we already have the money to fix Sunfish and Ramsey. But this is something that we're gonna need because that bridge is in disrepair, and I was just kind of curious, can that be covered?
Commissioner Schulte.
Commissioner Gamache, I think we're conflating two things. You're referring specifically to the North Star lanes.
For the lane, yep,
This money could be used for stuff besides North Star.
okay,
It just has to be in our 5-year plan.
okay,
And for instance, there's still a major one in Coon Rapids that we've not done. It's a county road, Crooked Lake Boulevard. That one still has an at-grade crossing.
right.
There's many, and Commissioner Look identified a few as well, that still need overpasses that are not, that one is on the North Star line, but it doesn't have to be if it gets in our 5-year plan.
Okay, okay, thanks.
I think the key, Commissioner, is that it has to be in the 5-year plan.
Okay,
But once we build that in, definitely.
gotcha.
Commissioner Meiser.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Gamache, for bringing that up, because I believe right now they are studying it to find out exactly how bad the degradation is, and then also then with that to modernize the design with that. But and I can't remember the price tag, but it is extremely expensive. I believe it's the longest bridge in Anoka County, and it obviously goes over the rail. So so that's like I guess a conversation that I can inquire about offline of this. But thank you so much for bringing that up because I forgot about that.
Okay, so basically, we're coming back here to the proposal, which is a zero levy for 2024, and this is not a decision at this point, but just discussion. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yes.
I see head nods.
And it's just,
Yes?
I'm sorry, yes, it's just that portion that we're talking about. Okay, yes, I agree with that.
Okay, you have direction.
I do. I will bring back then that budget to the August meeting.
Okay. If there is nothing else to come before the Regional Rail Authority today, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.